Hello, guys. Welcome to Combat Talk, your weekly episode of the MMA podcast, where we discuss MMA news and talk about the fights. I'm joined here with, you may see him on Dana White looking for a fight. He was on The Ultimate Fighter and he was a UFC fighter, and he wasn't so bad, man. He was a really good fighter. How are you, Dean Thomas?
I'm good, man. I love the intro. I wasn't so bad. I was a really good. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
Where are you at? Where are you at that you have to be wearing a mask right now?
Man, I'll tell you. I said in my last episode, I'm actually traveling right now. I'm in Dublin, Ireland, and I was just out, so I can't be catching no COVID, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear
Yeah,
you.
I'm thinking you're live from. Are you in Fight Island right now?
Yeah, I'm in Fight Island right now. Just got done eating dinner with the crew.
Yeah, what's it like out there?
It's nice, man. Like, it's a bit different because we're inside this bubble, so we can't really go anywhere. And inside the bubble, you have a couple of hotels and the beach and the arena, and that's about it. So you can
Yeah,
kind of like get creative with those with
yeah,
those little things. But it's a good time. The weather is finally cooling down. There's a breeze going, and I'm happy and I'm blessed to be here.
yeah. Well, yeah, it seems really good, man. I'm guessing do you have to quarantine for a certain amount of time, or how does this work?
Yeah, so you fly into Vegas unless you live in Vegas, and then you
Yeah,
test, then you quarantine for the day. Your test has to come back positive. Then if it comes back positive, you catch the charter flight out here, and then once you get here, it's a 48-hour quarantine
yeah.
after a test, and then another test. I mean, I've tested probably 6 or 7 times since I've been here.
Yeah, I got
Feels like
tested.
every day we're testing.
Yeah, man, I got tested twice because I'm up and down from home. But yeah, man. I'd love to talk about your MMA career. You were on The Ultimate Fighter and everything. If you want to tell me about that experience.
Yeah, that was a great experience. I was, whew, man. I don't want to date myself. It's probably been on that show like longer than you've been alive. That was in
Yeah, man.
2006. So it was the comeback season. Basically, what happened? I was a lightweight, but they dropped the division, and then they asked me to come back and be on the Ultimate Fighter, the comeback at welterweight. So, and I weighed about 165 pounds. So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it because I won't have to cut weight, and I hate cutting weight. So,
Yeah,
um, it was a great experience. You stay in the house for 6 weeks, built some great relationships. As me and Matt Sarah became best friends, and
yeah. That's what I want to. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, it was a really good time, really good experience.
yeah. Speaking of that, I want to get into it. You and Matt Serra. I always see, especially on Dana White looking for a fight. You're always messing with each other. I'm guessing you're with him right now at Fight Island. Are you on the
No,
same
he actually
hotel?
went back. He went back to New York. We finished filming and Matt went back, but I'm staying because I have a fighter coming out here next week.
Oh, nice. Who you got?
Yeah, I have Jillian Robertson coming out next week.
Oh, you train?
Yeah.
Are you the
Yeah.
coach of it? That's not. Yeah, you want to tell me about, you want to tell everybody about your gym?
Well, I don't really have a gym per se. I train out of the house. So like I got a
Yeah,
house and they just come to the house or some people stay with me. I have like little Shorty Torres, he stays with me.
yeah.
And we just train, man. I'm just bringing it back to the training. No politics, no trash talk, no goofy stuff. It's just bringing it back to the original essence of fighting and combat, and that's what I want.
That's the way it should be, man. Yeah, and I'm guessing you've been with like Dana White a lot, especially. Like, what's it like working with him? It must be an honor.
Yeah, it's a privilege, man, and I see how hard he works, and it's he takes a lot of criticism, and it just rolls right off his back because he understands the bigger picture, and that's to get things done, and that's what he does is he gets things done. And it's kind of inspiring to work so closely with him because he's such a hard worker and his
Oh, for
standard
sure.
for work is really high. His standard for work is really high, and regardless what people say about him is, but he gets it done, man. He puts his neck on the line and he gets it done.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, speaking of it, we actually got a recent UFC fighter on the podcast recently. Cody Stamen. He's the number 12 bantamweight in the world. But
Yeah.
yeah. If Dana White, if you're watching, man, if you ever want to come on the podcast, that would be great. No jokes. But yeah. Speaking of that, I'm guessing you were in the backstage area for UFC 253.
Yeah, well, we were back in the green room for actually. We missed a bunch of the prelims. I did. I missed a bunch of the prelims, but then by the time the main card started, we watched the first three fights from the back, and then we watched the co-main event and the main event from from the arena. So
Yeah,
yeah, and it was great, man. It was really good. It's really cool to see Israel Adesanya work
yeah,
so
man.
up and close and personal. I mean, he's such a brilliant fighter. He's a
Yeah,
master of
oh,
what he
for
does.
definite. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it was
what was
a
your reaction to Jan Blakovic, man? He shocked everybody. Like,
well, I wasn't shocked. I was like, I thought I thought the betting line was a bit unfair on him. I thought that he was going to put up a better fight than to be a almost a 3-1 underdog. And I said it should be a lot closer than that.
yeah,
And when Jan won, I was just thinking to myself, like, I thought that was a possibility. I
oh
knew it
yeah.
was a possibility. I don't think he should have been that big of an underdog.
Yeah, well, me and a few guys did a prediction in the last few videos, and I was actually aiming, especially from Dominic Reyes' controversial loss to John Jones. I thought he would come out like smarter than he was when he came out against John Jones, but turns out he was trying to keep the same pace as Jan Blachowicz, and he messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was shocking. Well, we can't go on without talking about the main event. Like, uh, Israel Adesanya came out, striking performance, A plus, man. He made Paulo Costa look like he doesn't deserve to be there.
He sure did. And he's just when you watch it on TV, it looks like one thing, but when he's directly in front of you and you're trying to hit him and he's hitting you,
Oh
it's
my
another
god.
thing. So it's easy for people to talk trash about Israel when they don't have to fight, when they're not fighting him.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
kind of like
Yeah.
it's kind of like Floyd Mayweather. It's like, you can say what you want about Floyd, but everybody who gets in front of him has a hard time. You
Yes.
can't deal. It's hard to deal with. So I think Israel Adesanya is in that conversation where it's like, all right, he looks like he's skinny and he's got these skinny little legs and he can't hurt you, but he can. And when he gets in front of you, he's going to make you miss. He's going to frustrate you. He's going to hit you. He's faster than you.
Man,
So,
I do see
um,
him as like a this generation Anderson Silva. He moves exactly
oh
like
yeah,
it. Yeah, for definite.
yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean, what these guys are doing is just next level stuff, and um, it's just as an artist, as a martial artist, it's a beauty to see, that level of excellence in terms of fighting.
Yeah, you were saying that you were at the arena, man. Like one of my dreams would to be one of those like an MMA journalist. I'm aiming to go for the future. That's why this podcast is basing off it. But you were going on about like how do you see the UFC? Will you be in Fight Island for UFC 254?
That's Khabib
Gaethje.
and Justin, right? Yeah, I'm actually not. So I'm leaving right after Jillian fights on the 17th. So she fights the 17th. I'll be out of here by the 18th.
Uh,
I'll be ready to go home by then anyway. So I'm kind of
yeah,
about that.
yeah. I'm guessing the time zone is very different. You have to you're waking up at certain times. It's not used to your time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm waking up at different times. Like I don't know what time zone you're on now. Like now I hear the accent. I didn't know if you were on the East Coast but it
Yeah,
looks
I'm
like you're in
Irish.
a
I'm Irish, man. The
yeah.
time here is 6:51 p.m.
Yeah, so yeah, you're on a completely different time than I thought you were. But at the same time, it's dealing with these time zones it's a real thing and it's not a joke. It's not easy to sometimes acclimate to your environment because of the time is so different.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And we were going on about UFC 254. On that co-main event, we're going to see the next number one contender, Jared Cannonier versus Robert Whitaker. Do you think there'll be a rematch with Rob, or will Cannonier come out to be the number one contender?
I like Cannonier and I actually think Cannonier is going to win.
Yeah,
Um,
especially he came straight down from light heavyweight and he shocked people because he was doing okay at light heavyweight, but when he came down to middle, he just showed people.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of power for middleweight. He might be the most powerful guy in middleweight,
Oh yes.
and I don't know, for whatever reason, I think he's finally figured out how to fight. He knows what he wants to do. He's got good balance, good power. So I think he beats Robert Whitaker. I think Robert Whitaker gets hit a little too much, and if he gets hit by Cannonier, he's gonna get knocked out.
Yeah. I think after the loss from Israel Adesanya, Robert Whitaker, even his personality, it wasn't really the same. That's yeah. Do you see Cannonier beating Adesanya though?
No, I don't see him beating Adesanya.
I don't think
I don't
anyone
think
can
any. I
in the
don't
middleweight division. Yeah.
at right now. I don't think so. I don't think any of those guys. Honestly, Paulo Costa probably presented the best challenge on paper, at least. The way he fights, and
Mm,
he couldn't even
yeah.
set up. He couldn't even get in a position to throw punches. So,
Yeah, but like
um,
the difference with that, I just realized that all of Paulo Costa's opponents, I'm not saying anything too about them, but they're not on their feet. They trade with him. But the difference that Izzy did, he was on his feet and he was not used to that. He was
yeah,
picking him apart, man.
well,
And
he might not have been used to it, but he knew it was going to happen,
oh yeah,
and he has to be prepared for it. So.
yeah, that's the same thing on what we're gonna talk about now. Khabib, you know what he's gonna do. Do you think
Mhm.
Gaethje is the guy to
He
beat
could
Khabib?
be. It's all going to come down to if Gaethje can stop a couple of shots early
Yes,
and not fall into play, and not get taken down and not being able to get back up. If he can stop some shots early and frustrate Khabib and get him a little tired, he can knock him out. Um, but Khabib is so good at what he does, and if you allow Khabib to do what Khabib does, you're in for a long night.
man. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I just think that the fight is gonna turn out a lot like UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi against Dustin Poirier. I just think he's gonna try to pressure him a lot, and I don't think that
Oh
he'll.
yeah, for
I
sure.
think he might tire out his hands by taking him down and throwing hands, and I think that he's gonna eventually submit him. I don't. I really do think that the closest challenge to Khabib Nurmagomedov is Tony Ferguson. Like, and I wouldn't even say that he would beat him. I just say that he would be a tough challenge.
Yeah, and that's very fair to say. I mean, I agree with that as well. But I also think that Gaethje possesses some problems that Khabib would definitely have to respect.
Oh, for definite, yes. And let's get back onto your time at Dana White looking for a fight. Do you have a favorite place you were? Your favorite activities, if you want to go on about that? Do you have favorite city you were at? Like out of all the
I,
episodes that you shot so far?
honestly, I think Abu Dhabi might be my favorite place.
Yeah.
And this is obviously we're in a bubble now, so I'm not getting to experience it like I did
Yes.
before. But when we were here last year, shooting for looking forward to a fight with Khabib and Dustin Poirier. We got a chance to go around and we did a lot of really cool things, and the food
Yeah.
here is great. And everybody here at this hotel, I'm standing at the W in Abu Dhabi, and
Yeah, man,
everybody
that looks
here is
really
just
good, man. That looks sick.
yeah. And the hospitality is second to none. I've never been treated as well as they've done for us here. So
Yeah, well,
um,
as I can see from videos, the
blessed.
way the way they're treating Dana White, man, they're treating him like a king.
Yeah, and and just being around them, I'm kind of getting the residual effects of that. So it's kind of like I'm getting some of that. So
Yeah,
it's been a good time.
yeah.
Can't can't complain.
Well, you're definitely in an area where there's MMA. But if you heard that there could be rumors of Conor McGregor versus Manny Pacquiao, what's your opinions on that?
Man, Manny Pacquiao's probably gonna knock him out probably a lot earlier than Floyd did. Floyd was playing around, set him up, and just eventually got rid of him when he wanted to. But Manny Pacquiao's probably not gonna play them games with Conor, and he's
Oh,
probably
for
gonna knock
sure.
him out pretty early.
Yeah, man. Because like my dream fight personally, I would love to see Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather in their prime. It did happen years later. Even though it did happen, it probably would have been a way closer fight. It probably wouldn't have went to distance, but like Mayweather fights on a way where he takes his time. He's a really smart fighter. He knows what he wants. He knows what's wrong when he walks into it. But Manny Pacquiao's speed is just too much, and I can see. I just think if they're going to give Conor McGregor a boxing fight, they might as well give him someone at his level when it comes to
Yeah.
boxing.
Well, I mean, he's just doing it obviously for money,
Oh
money
yeah, for
reasons. Like,
definite, man.
it makes no sense for him to try to have a boxing career and go up the rankings. It's easier for him to just use his name and reputation to call out the biggest guys and get the biggest money fights that he can.
Oh yeah, man. And I'm actually in Dublin at the moment. I just came up on a visit, and I heard this morning that Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor has signed a deal to have an exhibition in Dublin, December 12th. Have you heard that?
I did hear that, but I don't think that,
The-
it kind of reminds me of when I was going to fight. Uh, what's his? Oh my god, I can't remember his name. It'll hit me in a minute, but he a boxer, and he signed the fight and everything was good. And then the last day, Don King came in and shut it down.
Yeah,
It just can't happen. Like you
man.
can't breach your contract that way. Like if you're with an organization, you can't just go, all right, we're going to do a fight outside of your organization and just say it's not a fight. Say it's an exhibition or say it's something else. You can't do that. And
Yeah. Well, the
yeah,
fights,
so
it's supposed to
I
be
don't know why
open
they think
weight.
they're going to get away with that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an open weight fight, which means there'll be no weigh-ins. So like you could see them coming in at like I don't know. Well, I don't know what they normally walk around at when they don't train, but if it ever happened, like if I don't get how Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier could happen in an exhibition, but I was really disappointed when we couldn't get Dustin Poirier versus Tony Ferguson on the co-main of UFC 254. Who would you say would have won that, or if it ever happens in the future?
I don't know. It's hard to say. For years Tony Ferguson looked unbeatable.
Or for yeah, for definite.
Yeah, for the longest time he looked unbeatable. But when he fought Gaethje, he made a lot of mistakes and he got knocked out. So it's
Yes,
hard to say.
a lot of people do blame that for Tony Ferguson cutting twice in a month.
Yeah, it could be that, but
No, I just see
I
it
don't. You
as
can't make excuses for the
oh,
man. I mean,
oh
he
yeah,
lost
for
twice.
definite. Yeah, but he did say himself that he trained for a wrestler and he thought that Justin would come out the same way because he has an all he is a Division One All American wrestler himself, which people do see as like could that go up against Khabib? Like same as Stipe, they don't show it, but they are Division One All American wrestlers. Like
Hmm.
and that's very like good to think about and it's very interesting. But I'm just out of all the Fight Island fights in the next 4 weeks, what are you looking forward to the most?
I think that one. I'm not going to be here for it, but I do think that's the fight that I'm looking forward to the most.
Yes, and then you obviously
Just
have
because, yeah, just because Khabib, when you talk about him, he's never lost before, so you're always wondering who's going to be the guy to beat him.
and I'll be honest with you, I don't think anyone will. I just think he'll remain 30-0. I think he's gonna retire 30-0. And if that GSP fight happens, man, oh my god, that would be fight of oh my god, that would be such a banger. I don't think
Yeah,
GS
I don't think that's going to happen either.
yeah, I know. If that happened though, I don't think GSP has it in him anymore. Like,
No, sure
yeah.
don't.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, we obviously have Holly Holm in the main event this weekend, and we have. I'm actually looking forward to Brian Ortega versus Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. I think that winner will definitely secure the number one contender spot for Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Holly Holm fight too. Well, not so much as her, but her opponent. I mean, I think that Irene
Elna,
Aldana is a great.
yeah, Irene Elna.
She's got good hands. She, I think she's a great fighter. I'm interested to see how Holly deals with this, because
Hmm.
I think she's maybe even a little bit more well rounded than Holly.
Yes,
So yeah, it's an interesting matchup for sure.
yeah. And as I was saying about the Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega, who do you think got that? And if the winner, do you think that one of those is the guy to beat Volkanovski?
Yeah, well, first I think the winner should get a crack at Volkanovski, but um, there is no buts. The winner should get a crack at Volkanovski.
Yes, for definite.
I see I see the Korean Zombie winning that fight only because Brian Ortega gets hit a lot. He
Yeah,
gets hit way too much. He
he
he can hit, and he's good on, and he's decent on his feet, very responsive, but he just gets hit too much.
yeah, I
So
think he tries to back it up on his jujitsu, but when you keep it up, that's the thing, man. Well,
yeah,
speaking of that, like I do think that very controversial with Volkanovski against Holloway. I think just because of that third round, he beat him in the rematch, and I do see why. I really did have to watch it a few times, but I don't think that if someone comes out like that again, that I actually think that if there ever is a trilogy, that Max could obviously finish him. I really do like Max, and it was different to see him without a featherweight belt.
yeah. Max might be able to. Max is probably the better fighter of the two. He's down to. I mean, just because he's the better fighter doesn't mean that he's always going to win against a guy.
Oh, for true, yeah,
He's
for sure.
Yeah, so I think he's probably the better fighter of the two, but he's still down to. He still lost twice to Volkanovski. So
Yeah, well, the first fight was dominant and the second fight was controversial.
yeah,
I'm sorry if I'm keeping
for
your
sure.
time, man, but I just want to go into a few other Fight Island fights. Marlon
Okay.
Mariah, you have Marlon Marias versus Cody Sanhagen. With Marlon Marias being the number one ranked and Cody Sanhagen, I think he's bringing his way up to the top five. So I think that he could definitely get a title shot if he wins that fight. But straight after Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, especially in that division where there are so many guys like knocking on that door. I don't know if he'd get a title shot after beating Marlon, but if he beats Marlon, but that's a good fight. That's such a good, like, I love that division right now. The bantamweight division
Oh,
is such a strong
definitely,
division,
yes.
and that's such a good fight that I think that we just got to see how it plays out. And
Yeah,
I think a
it
lot
could
of it
really
has
go
to do
both
with
ways.
yeah, it could go both ways, and I think that if one guy gets a highlight reel knockout, then he may think that he deserves a title shot, but I don't see that fight being that way where it's that one sided. I just can't see that fight being one sided.
Yeah, that'll probably be a very close. No, it wouldn't be one-sided. But yeah, I just think that the bantamweight division right now it's very stacked. I had high hopes for Sean O'Malley, and I think he'll probably come back. But I had high hopes. If he knocked out Cheeto Vera, it would have been a different story. It's probably
Yeah,
yeah. So, what's your opinions? Do you think what do you think on that loss? Do you think that it, like he was blaming himself, but said that he was still undefeated? What's your opinion on that
no,
loss?
that's a bit delusional. You lost, regardless of the situation. You
Yeah, man.
lost. You didn't get your hand raised.
Yes, man.
So
And we
say
can't,
what you want, but if you lose, you don't get your hand raised. You didn't win. So
for sure, man. A win is a win. And
yeah,
for the last topic, man, we can't stop now talk about MMA talk without talking about Kazmat Chimaev. Yeah, man.
he's a good fighter, man. Like you can't take anything away from him. He likes to fight. He's done everything he said he would do. Stopped a good friend of mine, Gerald Mershart.
Yeah,
Man, he's good, man. We just got to see what the future holds for him. And you know, obviously, I think he's gotten some good opponents up until now. But when he starts to,
he called out Wonderboy Thompson recently, and that's in the works.
yeah, and it's he's tough, man. It'll be interesting to see how he deals with some of them problems at the top. Because it's obvious he can deal with the problems at the bottom, but let's
Oh,
see how
for
he deals with
sure.
the problems at the top.
Yeah, well, what he is aiming for, he's aiming to get the welterweight belt, go up to middleweight, and become the double champ. If you ask me, I think the two most best fighters for him at each division would be probably Yoel Romero at middleweight, and then probably maybe Colby. That would be a great fight. Or well, Usman and Kazmat kind of have the same style. They do have power and they are advanced grapplers. So out of
Yeah.
those fights, man, like would you rather see the middleweight king in Izzy or Usman? Like, would you rather see either of those champs? Who would you rather see fight? Kazmat Chimaev.
Um, I don't think he does very well against Izzy because Izzy's too fast for him.
Yeah,
But I think that it's probably going to be a better fight between him and Usman. Usman's not very fast, but he's a very skilled and smart fighter.
he's very smart.
And
Yeah.
Kazmat's a skilled, smart fighter himself. So I'd probably prefer to see that fight.
Yeah, for definite. Well, man, thank you for your time. And guys, that was Dean Thomas, UFC pioneer, a legend to the company. And thank you for coming on, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
No problem, man.